This year, I started a mini-series that was called The Remarkable Women of the Middle East. And so I thought maybe I could bring you the most remarkable of them all. So today, I'm bringing you joy. Mona Kattan Al-Amin.
I'm not successful at everything. I've failed so many times, and I'm sure I'll continue failing. Just never give up on trying. So I've had that mindset of like, I need to work for myself if I want anything in life. And I'm so happy that my father instilled that in me. You know, I think just with life, we just kept getting closer. And, you know, till today, like he's just the person I'm probably the closest to. After I unblocked my feminine energy blockage, I feel like my life changed. And like things went into flow.
This is one of the most valuable sentences that have ever been said on this podcast.
Yeah, I had to work on that, and working on that changed my life.
Welcome back. If you recall, at the beginning of this year, I started a mini-series that was called The Remarkable Women of the Middle East. And that surprisingly got massive appreciation from our listeners. Beautiful stories of amazing women. And so I thought maybe I could continue a tiny bit more on this series and bring you the most remarkable of them all. So today, my guest is Mona Kattan. Mona is, let's start with the formal introduction. Mona is the global head of Huda Beauty, of HB Investment, and of Khayali, some of the top beauty companies and investment companies, and some of the best perfumes on earth. She also is a celebrity with more than 2.5 million followers on the internet. She is on TV all the time. She is very loved by the Middle East community. And all of that actually does not matter to me at all, because once the cameras are off and I sit with Mona as a human, she is the most wonderful soul ever. And in my heart, what you see on camera and all of the fashion and beauty and elegance, when you when you really look deep inside and find such a beautiful, humble, wonderful soul, that in my view is what's remarkable. Every time I sat with Mona, she either dispensed some incredible wisdom, making it look like a joke, or she just made the conversation light and wonderful and joyful. Whatever happened, it was always, whichever interaction, a meeting, a WhatsApp message, there was joy. So today, I'm bringing you joy. Mona Kattan Al-Amin.
Oh my God, you're so sweet.
It is the truth.
I love you. I really do love you.
It is the truth.
I just want to like, okay, stop recording. I'm going to hug you. Like, we're done. You're so sweet. Thank you so much.
This is the podcast.
That means the world to me, coming from you especially. Thank you. You are joy. You are happiness.
You know what? When I completely started to like sign on the dotted line and say this is the most adorable person on the planet, you may actually not remember. When I was on your podcast and your dad walked in, do you remember that moment?
Yeah.
Oh my God. So can I be honest? I mean, Middle Eastern fathers in general, should I say that, are pieces of shit? Okay. I mean, not in a bad way. We're very responsible, okay? But we're very restrictive of our wonderful young daughters. It is part of the culture and part of the habit that the father's role is more protection than empowerment. And so, of course, among my Middle Eastern friends, a woman would normally sort of go like, yeah, I love and respect my dad, but it's been tough sometimes. It's not unusual in any other culture in the world, but I'd say maybe because I'm exposed to the Middle East, it's a little more common here. You love your dad.
Yeah.
You call him your superhero.
Yeah.
And you're like literally with him everywhere.
Yeah.
What's up? Was he like a good dad, or are you like a fantastic daughter?
Aw. I'm a fantastic daughter.
Yeah, let's
I'm just kidding. No, he's a wonderful dad. You know, he's been such a great, support my whole life for me, my family, all of us. And I think just because we've grown up in different cities our whole lives, like we moved around so much, it brought us closer. But ever since I was born, we've been so close. Like he's my best friend till today.
You were born in the US?
Yes, I was
You're
born
originally Iraqi?
originally Iraqi, yeah.
And you were raised here in Dubai?
I moved to Dubai when I was 17.
Oh, that's not raised at all.
Yeah, so
That's
I
actually
was,
quite traumatizing if you think about it. 17 is the
it
worst
was
age
very
to move.
traumatizing.
Yeah.
I actually had like a huge culture shock when I moved here because I actually moved to Sharjah, not Dubai.
Okay.
So it was like a big change from the US. So yeah, lots of changes. But I think every time we moved, we got even closer together because we lived in Tennessee, then we moved to Massachusetts, and then to Sharjah, and then like now Dubai. But you know, I think just with life, we just kept getting closer. And, you know, till today, like, he's just the person I'm probably the closest to.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Oh, I feel so jealous. So can I?
It's dysfunctional a little bit, but
Is it?
I think a little bit, yeah.
Of course
like,
it has to be.
even,
Otherwise, I would not believe you. Right?
like even now, I'm fitting out a new office for me and my team, and I made an office for him there. Like I always want him to be there around. So, yeah. But you know, he's a great father, and I don't know. I feel like I love both of my parents. Like I love my mom too. Don't get me wrong; she's amazing. But me and my dad, we've just always had this weird connection, and he's probably the polar opposite of me. He's like this.
I thought so. I felt that. Yeah.
He's this very like loud and kind of just like funny person who's just he's different. But we've always been so close.
So was he restrictive?
He was very protective growing up, like very protective, especially over me, because I'm the youngest child in the family. Yeah. So he'd always be so worried, and like he never wanted to let me go anywhere. He'd always be like, if you go somewhere, you have to go with Huda, because she's a year and a half older than me. So he felt like she was always protecting me. But it wasn't until we moved to Dubai, and then he like gave me freedom, and then he stopped being overprotective, and I stopped lying to him. And I started.
Which you were doing before.
Yeah, I used to have to lie about everything, even going to the movies. I'd have to like lie about it, and he was just too worried. He has a lot of anxiety. Like he's still till today, he's a very anxious person. But after moving to Dubai, he just calmed down, and then we became like still like very close, but we became more best friends. And I told him everything. Like even if I liked a guy, I would tell him. I'd get his opinion. You know, like he just became a lot more open-minded, and I think less worried. I think growing up in the States, he was always worried about us. Just like I think for him, just being in a foreign country that's not Arabs, not Muslims, he was always worried we'd get involved in things. But it's kind of the same everywhere. Like,
I really believe so.
You know, but he changed, and I think that was wonderful for our relationship.
Did you think you had a role to play in changing him?
I think so. Yeah, I think that, you know, our relationship definitely made him a lot, from what my mom tells me, he became a lot softer, a lot more patient. Yeah, I think I definitely changed him. Yeah, I think he became a lot more, I guess just loving when I was born. That's what my mom says. Before that, he was a little bit too aggressive, you know, kind of your typical Iraqi dad who's just like macho, a little bit not as loving, you know. So my mom always tells me, like, when you were born, me and Huda both, because we were kind of like chapter 2. You know, they had my sister Alya, my brother Khalid, about 12 years before me. Okay. And then they had Huda and me. So my parents and I have a pretty big age gap. Like my dad's turning 80 this year. Next week.
And good health always.
Yeah. So, you know, he definitely evolved over time. But I think our relationship probably brought out the sensitive side to him.
I can see that. I mean, when we sat down and you saw my lovely little explosive angry bird.
It's so cute. Yeah. You don't understand. My bedroom is full of teddy bears and stuffed animals. My husband thinks I'm a weirdo, but he accepted it.
You wouldn't believe that. For a very long time, I never bought pillows for my sofas. Yeah,
that's cute.
I thought soft toys were much nicer.
They're much nicer.
Yeah, and
I'm obsessed.
If you
like this brings a lot more joy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Than a pretty pillow. This is so cute.
Yeah, but this one was given to me by my son, by Ali. And he, you know, when I wasn't always like I am now, believe it or not. I was a horrible human being.
Oh no, I don't believe that at all.
I was never really horrible, but I was very driven and aggressive. Not aggressive, shrewd, I would say. No time, rushing. And you know, as you can imagine with the pressures of life, I think when Ali was in his early teens, every now and then the stress would take, over me, and then I would explode somehow. And so on my birthday, he got me this Angry Bird, and he was basically sort of like in his very typical Ali way. He was like, "Papa, it reminds me of you sometimes." And I really took the hint, actually.
God, that's
Him and Aya, the way Aya was very vocal all the time, but the way they sort of gave me feedback would always lead me to improve. You also speak so highly of Mr. Lucky Hassan. So again, one of the things I love about you is how, in a way, it's also part of your brand that you let people into your life and what you're doing, and you'd be recording a YouTube video and Hassan would walk in and kiss you and leave, and it's like very, very chill, and I love that. I love the we'll talk about it, the wedding collection that you made of perfumes together and so on. But it, Hassan's introduction into your life with your dad, how did that work?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. To be super honest, it was just like probably a month after Hassan and I started like getting to know each other, and he came to my house, and my dad is always over, like always. He lives right across the street now, because I was like, I want you close by all the time. So me and Hassan were going for a walk on the beach, and we ran into my dad.
Oh.
And Hassan was like, "Did you plan this?" And I was like, "No, we're just always together." So, and then my sister Huda is my neighbor, so she was like, "Oh, come in and have a bite." And then we all had a bite together, and Hassan meets my dad, my mom, the whole family, like month one. And my parents are funny. They start arguing and fighting. And he's like, "Okay, your family has no like formalities." It's like, nope. I was like, what you see is what you get. We're crazy, and like, we're just very like open people. But yeah, he met them so early on in the relationship, which I think is great, because for me, I don't like hiding things. I don't like distance in my relationship. I just feel like if you're going to get to know someone, show them all of you, and figure out whether it's whether you're the right connection or not, so you can move on quickly, So yeah, he met them right away, and my father...
And still stayed.
Yeah.
There you go.
He's a trooper.
No, he's not. You guys
he's
fun.
A strong man.
I love that you also sometimes, when asked, you speak openly that marriage is not easy, and that, it's work. And again, from a celebrity point of view, aren't you supposed to make it always look fancy and perfect on social media? And,
I mean, I don't really consider myself a celebrity at all. Like every time you say that, kind of like,
two and
like
a half
me,
2.5 million followers.
But it's social media, right? Like it's so different. And I grew up on social media. Like as soon as I was in university, I was in Facebook. Like it's always been my nature. Even before that, it was like MSN. Like for me, it's like friends. Like it's your community.
Is it really?
I feel that way.
Are you saying I'm not good? I mean, I have like 120,000 or what?
You are legendary. You're more than a social media star. You're an author. You're changing people's lives. You're inspiring people. Like, it's different. But for social media following, I feel like it's your community. It's like an extension of your friends, and like they're people who like what you like. They care about what you care about. They're just, it's a community thing. So I don't consider myself a celeb. And I also feel like when you become popular or known off of social media, it's your job to keep it real, because that's the only reason why people follow you. They're not following you because you're a famous actress or you're an author, like maybe that's why people have interest in what you're doing. But with you, it's also different, because it's like your work is inspiring itself. It's not just like a fiction book. It's like, it's real life stuff. So I think I have to keep it real. I never want to pretend like things are perfect. Nothing's perfect. Nothing at all. I wish, but no, it's not. Every time I'm like, I think life's going good right now. It's like, bam.
Oh, yeah.
Nope. Like, here's the challenge for you. But yeah, marriage is not perfect. Not mine, not my parents, not anybody I know. Nothing's perfect.
So what would make it joyful, though?
It is joyful. My marriage is joyful. My parents are not, so I don't want to comment on that. I think making it joyful.
When he's in his 80s and they're still married, it must be amazing, right?
I mean, I don't want to comment on their marriage. I'm committed to making my marriage joyful, because I did grow up seeing my parents' marriage, which I think like many people our generation, Our parents didn't learn healthy communication, problem solving, conflict resolution. So like for me, I always said, if I get married, I want to have a healthy relationship. I want to have a strong marriage and one with passion and commitment. And there's no such thing as perfect. We've been married now for like a year and almost a half, but we've had bumps in the road, and I'm sure we will continue to. And after every bump, we've gotten closer, because we've confronted each other with something we didn't like, something that was making us unhappy. And I've realized now that like admitting things are not perfect actually brings you closer and makes things more perfect, funny enough.
I mean, do you have a secret? Because in my view, after all of those years, I found that the easiest way is very, very open communication. And then the man does what the woman says, right? So that mostly works.
Really, Hassan doesn't do that.
Okay, so
I wish he did.
So what's the secret then?
I wouldn't say, I don't think I have a secret, if I'm honest. I don't have a secret because I don't have a perfect marriage. It's like, it's great and we do find joy in it. And we work on it constantly, but of course it can improve, and I hope it continue. I think it's work. It's committing to making it work and committing to make sure that you both are giving your best. I think that's the secret. And with anything, right? Whether it's business, whether it's a partnership, whether it's a project you're working on, I think the best results are going to be when you're committed to keep trying, keep improving, keep innovating, problem solving together. So it's just like you have to have that desire to want to improve all the time and keep going. I think once that desire is gone, then it just can't work. Even if one person wants it so bad, it's like it has to be two people together.
That's such an interesting statement, actually. Yeah. So I find that most relationships would only break when one or both, at least one of the two sides goes like, not worth my investment anymore.
If one person's out, it will never work.
Yeah.
It's got to be two people fully committed to making it work and wanting to really just give your all. Marriage is hard. Relationships in general are hard. Not even marriage, relationships are hard. I mean, I got married at 36, which is older for our, culture. I went through so many.
In 5 years' time, you'll get married?
You're so sweet. I love you. You too. I love you so much. No, but it took me a long time to find the one. And I went through a lot of...
You found a good one, though.
An amazing one. He's such a great guy. But I went through a lot of hard relationships. I went through a lot of mistakes. I went through a lot of, just relationships that I think if I would have gotten married to those people, that it definitely would have ended, for sure. They were not the right fit. I didn't know what I was doing. And I think that, life has changed so much and it's become more complicated. So I feel like with that, marriage is more complicated, relationships are more complicated, but we're not really given a handbook of how to deal.
Yeah.
That's your next book. You need to write about how to have a healthy relationship.
Nobody believes you. Nobody believes you. Actually, if you look back, and maybe it's also a bit arrogant to think that there are silver bullets. There aren't any. I mean,
there's no such thing.
Yeah, there are general in my mind. When I try to understand something, I turn it into economic rules, basically, or mathematical rules. And there are economics and math, predictable behaviors that come in marriage and relationships and love and romance and so on. Every time I present them to people, they go come on, Mo, you don't.
I believe in it. I did a lot of homework before I got with Hassan. I did a lot of work on myself. And I did a value analysis of him. And I was like, what are our values? Are we compatible? That's understanding these things.
Immensely important.
Yeah. I did a lot of work on myself. And I do believe there's a lot of things you can do ahead of getting into a relationship to understand whether it will have a more probable successful outcome or not. Of course, there's that 30%, which is chemistry. That's something that I guess is only felt in person, right? But there's 70%, which I think is data.
Is it?
I think so.
So that brings me to paradoxes, because you are full of them.
Am I?
Oh my God. I mean, honestly, you, the Mona I know, is just pure joy.
Aw.
You're
I
always
love
smiling.
you, and I love that. Thank you.
You're always smiling.
Oh my
You're
God,
always
thank you
having
so
a good time.
much.
You're
Your
always
coffee is
hugging.
joy.
Shufti, did you see my coffee? Mona's testifying to my coffee, guys.
The best.
Yeah. So that was my retirement plan.
Let's do it.
I'm not going to retire.
I'm
That's
gonna
sadly.
be there every single day.
I was going to make a cafe and a pie.
You should do it.
Because I make serious pies.
Stop it.
And
what kind of pie? Apple pie?
Every pie. Have you ever? I will make you one
Pecan
of
pie?
my date and pecan and cardamom pie.
Oh my God, stop. You don't know how much I love cardamom.
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with cardamom.
You add date
Oh my God, that sounds so good.
cardamom on a crusty pie, and it's just incredible. So my intention originally was to only allow people who really love pie and people who really love coffee in.
Oh.
So I would have the choice of someone walking
Membership.
in. Yeah, exactly. Someone walking in, and then I go like, no, you don't seem to like coffee
the
enough.
soup. Did you watch the episode of Seinfeld? Yeah, that was so funny. I love that. You should do it.
I want to, but I realized I'm never going to retire. Sadly, I think that's currently my view. Which, if you remember, when in Soul for Happy, which was Ali's prediction, basically, that I will never stop working. It's quite interesting. But let's go back to your paradoxes, young lady. So you work like a maniac.
A little bit.
Yeah, you're working all the time.
Yeah.
Right? Which in a very stressful environment, in a global responsibility with a ton of disciplines. So you're in an investment, you're designing perfumes yourself, you're running parts of, the global side of Huda Beauty.
I'm not as involved in that anymore, to be honest.
Okay. Yeah.
No, now I'm just like fully focused on Kayali.
Yeah.
Because it's growing and I want to like focus, and I do believe that, for it to have the best potential, I need to like fully focus. So it's majority of my focus now.
Yeah, but then, with all of that, every time you showed up, and you're not pretending, you're actually joyful, right? How do we keep that balance?
I mean, I learn from people like you.
No.
No, really.
I'm a grumpy old man.
No, you're not. You're so amazing. And even like your book, the things that you teach, about like happiness, really, it's a mindset, and like being joyful is a mindset. It's gratitude, like you talk about all the time. It's like, just be grateful for what you have. You immediately have joy. And I think it's conditioning. Like it's a muscle, like everything is a muscle. Like you have to have a happiness muscle, patience muscle, tenacity muscle, like keep going, a work muscle. So it's like you have to repeatedly work on showing that side of yourself, and it's conditioning. So I think, I'm really a big believer in self-development. Like I'm obsessed with self-development since I was 14. Like I went through kind of 13. I moved for the first time. It was like a big move from Tennessee to Massachusetts. So I started listening to like Tony Robbins CDs and stuff like that. I think I experienced my first depression at that age because it was so hard for me. Like moving was really hard. And then I realized at that age, I was like, you have a choice. You have to be either like sitting on the couch all day eating romaine noodles and watching series, which I did for a while. I did for like 6 months, and it was not fun. Or I have a choice to like create goals and change myself and choose who I want to be. And I was like, I want to choose to be what I want to be, which is like the best version of yourself, which, joy is an important factor of that. And I do believe, if you make a conscious effort to be joyful, happy, grateful to everyone around you, you bring out the best in them. And it's a circle. Then they bring out the best in you. And it's just a circle.
I would just throw the main objection that I get at you. People will say, oh, but Mo, you're happy because you're successful.
Yeah, but you worked your ass off for that, right?
Yeah, but I'm, at the end of the day, people will then say, look, until I'm successful, I'm not going to be happy.
But then good luck getting successful, because you're going to be surrounded by negative people. You're going to be surrounded by not the best version of yourself too, right? So it's like, I truly believe in getting to that peak state of who you are. And to me, a big part of that is being joyful, being grateful, being happy. And if you want to wait until you reach a certain point to be that person. A, I think it's going to take a lot longer to get there if you get there ever. And B, like you say this all the time, like the goalpost moves. So once you get there anyway, you're going to want something else anyhow. So like, don't wait to be happy. Don't wait to be joyful. Don't wait to be grateful, because as soon as you get your goal, you want something else. It's like how we were built this way, right? Like we're both spiritual people, right? Like God created us to want more. Like, you know, that's something spoken about in the Quran and so many like hadiths. Like we are created to want more, so we'll never be satisfied. So just be happy now. Be joyful now.
So that's another paradox.
Why?
Because you're spiritual, you're constantly working on your spiritual, almost religious side.
Yeah.
And look at how fancy looking you are and fun loving you are, which seems, I actually disagree 100%, which seems to be like sometimes that religions, not just Islam, religions will say, don't do that, be grumpy here in life so that you have a better afterlife. That's an interesting paradox, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is an interesting paradox. And like my mom is very spiritual. She's very religious and she's very simple. She doesn't dress up much. She doesn't wear makeup or anything. She's just like, she thinks we're all built to just do charity all day. And I'm like, but I have to work to get the money to give the charity. Like I don't have a machine, you know, like this is how I'm, you know. So I think it's okay to enjoy life. And I think God also wants you to enjoy his blessings. He wants you to enjoy the art that we have, what we create together as humans. So I believe that we should enjoy. I used to have a lot of guilt, spending money, being flashy, because my parents are that way. My parents are very simple. So I used to feel almost guilty and I want to like be like more simple all the time. But then I realized like, you got to embrace who you are. I'm a wild like card. I'm like, since I've been like a little girl, I've always liked really flashy, fun colors, textures, bling. Like I just love these things. It's my character, you know, so I'm going to embrace that. But at the same time, I want to be a charitable person, a person who gives back, someone who supports. So I think you can be both, you know, and I think we should all embrace that. We should all be both if we want to be. If you want to be simple, be simple. But I like being glamorous, you know, that's a big part. It's how I was raised, actually. It's my mom's fault. She put me in the beauty pageant since I was a kid. So like my kid photos are like dressed up with pearls and like makeup and hair and like I grew up that way.
How do you feel if someone told you sometimes that they didn't like how you looked or something?
It's okay. They say that all the time.
Kind of paradox, right?
Yeah, some people say that all the time on Instagram and it's okay. I'm all right with that.
Is that true?
Yeah.
You don't care?
No. It's their rights. If they don't like my perfumes, I get that all the time. People are like, this perfume sucks. I'm like, oh. I'm like, it's okay. It's subjective. You have the right to your opinion. It's
so
okay.
I want to talk about perfumes for a second.
Yeah.
And I was hoping that we will get to that because you design those things.
Yeah.
What is it to design a perfume? Like, isn't it like, you know, a little bit of this oil and a little bit of that oil and then you get something and you throw it away and then you change it a little bit and you get something and you go like, nice, right?
I mean,
what is a design of a perfume?
To be honest, there's a lot that goes into it, you know? And the longer I've been in this career, which has now been like over 5 years, the more sophisticated it gets. Like when I first started, I'd have to say it was more like that. Like, okay, add my favorite notes, add these notes that I love in this other perfume, add this, add that, till we found like a combination we like. But now, as I've been doing it for a while, I'm learning a lot about different notes. Cardamom, like when you mentioned that, beautiful in perfume. We have it in our latest one.
It?
Yeah, we have it in our latest one.
I never had the perfume that had cardamom.
Yeah, it's so nice. It's a beautiful note. So now I'm like learning a lot more about ingredients. So it's becoming more complex but fun because it's more challenging. But I really believe perfume is art. So like if, you know, you look at our latest launch, Yum Pistachio Gelato. Like the bottle, it's like frosted matte green. So it's supposed to remind you of gelato, like a frosted cup when you have ice cream inside. The ingredients themselves are inspired by pistachio gelato ice cream, but we had to also put things in it to make it more unique, more complicated, because if you make a perfume too simple, it's kind of flat. When you need to make it round, and like the more round it is, the better it lasts all day, the more unique it will be too, you know, from all the other perfumes. So now I think with time, I've become better at designing something more interesting. It's like art, you know, like I really believe it's a form of art. So my art is becoming more interesting as time goes on. But initially it was probably like what you're saying. It was like, I love rose, I love vanilla, I love jasmine, I love this, I love that. Let's put it all together and play a little bit. But now it's like very intentional and takes a long time. Normally it takes about, on average 2 years to launch.
No way.
From when you have the idea to when you actually launch. So there's a lot of work that goes into it, lots of improvements. Like the latest one I just approved last week. It's something for end of next year.
End of next year. We just approved it. I've been working on this for over a year already, and we modified it over 100 times. So like... How can you do that in something so subtle?
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot of testing.
Give me a language that you use. You'll smell it, and then you'll say to the designer or to the
nose.
blender.
The nose.
The nose. Yeah. What will you say? Will you say it's missing a spice?
Sometimes, for example, I don't want to tell you because I don't want to give some. Okay, for example, I'll say something that we already launched. So for Yum Pistachio Gelato, that one we picked our 33rd modification, but we also modified it probably 50 times, because we kept playing, we kept moving. Because when you first give the description to the nose, like, okay, I want something that tastes like or smells like a pistachio gelato, they're going to give a few suggestions. You give them a lot of suggestions, like your favorite notes, the things you like, the things you don't like, and ideas as well. And there's a lot of notes. Like there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of notes, like even musk. There's probably over 50 types of musks. I'm not sure on the exact number, but there's so many, and each one has a different scent. Same with vanilla. Like there's so many types of vanilla. So like with time, you kind of know how one smells. And even, I don't want to get too technical because it's a bit boring for people watching. Probably not for you because you're an engineer and like you're a geek like me.
I'm geeking out on this.
Yeah, yes. But like even the way they extract the vanilla out of the vanilla bean, the type of method affects the smell. So there's so many different complexities to getting the certain smell, and also for performance. Like if you want it to smell very strong at first versus like lasting very long, like you have to have that balance. Because if something smells very strong in the opening, maybe that means it has a lot of top notes, but then does it have enough on the base to dry down and last throughout the day? So it's a lot of like physics, chemistry. It's engineering. You'd probably be an amazing perfume designer. That's your future.
I used to
and
blend
by
coffee.
the way, Mo's place smells phenomenal.
Oh, thank you.
Phenomenal. We need to make a happy perfume with you. Although Clinique, I think, has one. So I think they have it trademarked, but we'll solve for happy perfume.
My ex-wife Nibel appreciated the smells very much.
Smells so good in your house.
I met a friend the other day. For the first time. So we knew of each other, but we didn't know each other. And we met at a concert. I had an extra ticket and I had 2 other friends coming. So I said, yeah, you can, invite someone. And they said, let's invite Amy. And she hugged me for the first time because we know of each other. You're such a great
hugger too.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
You really are.
and her first sentence was, oh my God, you smell so good.
You really do.
I have to say, this landed with me as one of the best compliments I've ever received from someone I have never met in my life. I was like, oh, that's nice.
It is nice.
Yeah.
It is nice. And I think you definitely are a sensitive person like me. And I feel like people who are sensitive and emotional really appreciate perfumes because it's scientific. It's the most moving sense we have. It's more moving than touch. Well, maybe not touch. Okay. But it's more moving than like hearing something visual. Like it's more moving. Like the sense of smell, when you smell something that reminds you of someone, like you're instantly like taken away.
Yeah.
To a memory, to a moment, to an occasion. And even if it has no relation to memory, like if you smell jasmine, you're going to be relaxed. If you smell lavender, you're going to be relaxed. If you smell bergamot, you're going to be energized. If you smell apple, you'll probably be energized. Like if you smell patchouli, some people might feel sexy. Depends on the person.
What's that?
Patchouli. Sandalwood.
Is that
Sandalwood.
True? Oh, that is actually true.
It's again subjective, but generally speaking, like woody notes are more sexy.
On women or on men?
Both. I think so.
Because I
I
was
think so.
gifted, again, I was gifted a perfume once
Yeah.
by a girl I was dating at the time that had sandalwood in it.
I find it very sexy.
Yeah, and I promise you, I kid you not, okay? Whenever her friends showed up and I had that perfume on, they would literally go like, "Oh my God, he's so sexy."
It's so
and I'm like,
sexy, yeah.
"What? I'm the same guy that you were, kicking yesterday." And something happens with that, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
So I would never wear pistachio gelato.
You're gonna wear it.
No.
Yes.
Okay, but that's the question, huh? So
You're gonna love it.
no way.
Do you mind if Sam gets it? Do you mind getting it from the kitchen?
Oh my
I want
God,
you
do
to
we
try
have
it. Yes, I brought it for you.
I can't
Can
do
you
that.
bring
Yeah, go ahead.
the
go ahead.
three
Yeah.
if you don't mind, honey?
Yeah. So is there any common agreement across humanity of what is nice, what is not?
No.
Right?
Except maybe vanilla.
I don't like vanilla in perfumes. I actually know you have a lot of vanilla in perfumes.
But I'm gonna change your mind.
I'm
gonna change your mind.
let me be very open.
Thank you, Sam.
Yeah. Come in.
Sure. Thank you.
So the
Special guest. Oh, thank you.
we,
And by the way, these both have sandalwood in it. So
oh yeah.
these two.
So let's not have those now.
No, I want you to try it.
So the idea, to me, anything that is food,
Yeah.
I don't think should be a perfume. So
Just wait. Just wait.
I don't like vanilla. I don't like cinnamon. I don't like in perfumes. Don't like anything
I love it in
apple-y.
perfume.
Or in candles, by the way, in scented
I'm gonna
candles.
cry.
Is that
I'm
true?
gonna change your mind. It's okay.
Okay.
It's
so,
okay.
Right, people, here is me.
Trying
Actually,
pistachio gelato.
it's a pretty bottle, though. Okay, I'm trying pistachio gelato. If this doesn't work, I'm gonna have to go wash my hands and
Oh
stuff.
no!
Okay,
But let it dry down because it's gotta
that's
give it
not
some time.
pistachio gelato.
It is.
It is
pistachio gelato.
It is if a tiny bit of really good pistachio gelato lands on your hand after you've had a perfume of, what is this? There is. Okay, so you see now there is a bit
It
of
will
orange
change.
blossom or something like that.
Yes, there's some florals. We have
A lot of flowers. Yeah.
geranium. We have jasmine. We have a lot of we have lily of the valley. It's a very
nice.
complicated fragrance.
Okay, I'll
We
change.
do have pistachio gelato, so pistachio with milk. We
It
have
does smell like
rum.
it does smell
We
like that.
have cardamom. We have Turkish delight. We have cotton candy, marshmallow,
But
whipped
it's-
cream.
Honestly, it smells
Great on you.
sweet.
Yeah.
Right? It's like I don't want anyone to bite me.
Well, there's a warning. You might have somebody bite you. Honestly, it could happen.
You know what you just did to me?
What?
So I've always had a very very set of scents that I loved. Okay, and they are, as everything in my life, the result of a very very well thought through. Because whenever you smell me, it literally describes who I am. It describes that very unusual diversity of being Eastern by tradition, born here, aligning with the values here for a very long time, and then being Western educated my whole life. And so I always mix two scents. At least I always wear two perfumes. One is very Western and one is very Eastern. And the Eastern tones will always have a bit of sandalwood in them, a bit of oud maybe,
so nice.
a bit of musk, and so on. And so for the first time, you actually got me curious to experiment a little bit.
Yay! That's wonderful. Do you wear the same perfumes all the time?
If you have 3 and 3, so 3 Arabic and 4 sort of Western, you have endless varieties.
Combinations, yeah.
Endless combinations. So
It's funny because Kayali, when I created it, it was to bring East and West together.
that's so interesting.
Because for me, I've always loved perfume since I was a kid growing up in the States. But when I moved to Dubai, that was when my mind was blown.
And they smell
And I was like,
amazing here.
what is this?
Yeah.
Like the concept, the rituals, the way people wear
Yeah.
perfume, it's like with so much intention.
Yeah.
It's so like luxurious. It's so cool.
Mm.
So the goal with Kaylee was like creating scents that have like inspiration from the Middle East, but making them a little bit more Western, like in the middle. Because I don't want it to be too polarizing where people can't wear it and then they feel like it's just too much, but I want to like share the Middle Eastern culture with the world too. So I feel like you're gonna like them if you play with them. But I think experiment, like mix things together, get out of your comfort zone.
That's what I never do. So
You have to get out of your comfort zone.
So because also when I was young, I was asthmatic. I was very asthmatic.
Really?
Yeah. So I was very, very.
And it went away?
Oh yeah.
Oh wow,
yeah.
that's great.
Yeah. So I was very careful about which perfumes I come near because sometimes
Yeah.
it would irritate me basically. But I have to say, this is interesting.
Really? I'm so happy. Can I open this one?
Open.
Sorry,
Yeah,
I
let's
brought
play
these for
with
you and
all
I'm
of them.
opening them now. But
Yeah.
So this one hasn't launched yet. It's launching end of the month, but it's around the sandalwood note.
Oh, that's mine.
So yeah, both of them actually.
I mean, I have to say this one of the things that you always
that
do
has
is,
sandalwood too, actually.
one of the things you always do is that you're always unisex, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I find this a bit more feminine than
Really?
masculine. Yeah. What was the other black one I used from this?
Elixir.
Yeah, that was a little more masculine than
Yeah.
feminine.
Yeah.
And I don't know how I can say that honestly,
Yeah.
because how can you even define in your mind what is masculine, what is feminine, and
Yeah.
why is a scent maybe more suitable for a manly man and
Yeah.
another?
I
Is it
think-
softness? Is it
I think it's like-
playfulness?
From what I've seen, the marketing around fragrances. Do you love that one?
Oh man, that is me for sure. It's called The Wedding?
Yes.
Oh, I have
That
an
one?
omen. Oh God. Oh,
That
wow.
one's Velvet Santal. So I worked on that
This
with
one
Hassan.
is whiskey.
It has it does have a lot of interesting notes in
Oh my
there.
God.
No
I don't
whiskey.
drink whiskey,
No,
but it
no
smells really
whiskey.
interesting.
But
Oh
and then
my
this is called
God.
Silk Santal. So they're both with a sandalwood note. You can pair them together. They actually work really beautifully together. But it's supposed to be like,
Ooh.
yeah, you like it as well?
Oh yeah.
Yay!
I think this is the kind of thing that would get women to hug me and say, "Oh, he's so sexy." Yeah. Which is in a way is very flattering, but also very disappointing because
Stop it! No, you're crazy. Do you know how many girls I know who have a crush on you?
Don't tell me that.
Why?
I've been pondering love and romance. I'm actually thinking of going back to being a monk.
No.
Oh my God, yes,
No,
yes.
you have to share yourself with the world.
With the whole world?
One person. Sorry, I take that back. I spoke. But I mean, I do believe, like, of course, there's moments and seasons to be single. There's a lot of self-discovery and growth you can do when you're on your own. And there's something really special about that. But I also feel like having a partner is also very important. And
Having a partner that fits the journey is very important.
very important.
Yeah,
True.
My journey is very peculiar.
Yeah.
Very peculiar.
You are peculiar. You're a
yeah.
very interesting, unordinary person, which is amazing, but it doesn't mean you can't find someone who would be supporting, loving, and happy to go on that journey with you.
I could, but she wouldn't be a woman. No, I'm joking.
You don't know
I'm
that.
joking.
You don't know that for sure. You don't know.
No, I mean, in a very interesting way, I think it's been a very. I've been blessed with amazing women. I'm not gonna lie, okay, and I have been very generous and loving and giving and manly when I need to be, very gentle when I need to be. I'm okay,
Yeah.
right? But I have to admit, and I'll say that very openly, I am married to my mission. I'm married to my mission to the
But
point.
can't you be both? Like, for example, with Hassan,
I can.
I've been in relationships where the person was in competition with my mission, which did not work, of course. But then with Hassan, he's such a supportive person. He's never made me feel bad about putting my mission first.
He's a man.
But women can do that too.
I have not found that.
I would do that for Hassan. I did that in all my previous relationships, supported them 1 billion%.
Yeah.
If anything, I think I helped them get there faster, because like with the right support, someone can make you feel so, encouraged, and you have that stability, that core to keep you going. So I would have to say you just need to keep looking.
I would have to try and change
Or
the topic from
maybe,
or
maybe, microphone, no, I have the mic right here. Or maybe maybe it's also what you're bringing out in the relationship. Because I think a woman, if you make her feel important enough,
of course I do,
then she will be okay, huh?
She wants more of me.
Maybe you're irresistible.
No, but that's wonderful in every possible way. That's a testimony to both of us, right? But the problem is I don't have more of me.
But maybe it's also the people you've experienced relationships with in the past, maybe they didn't have their own mission, and I think that's so important.
Could be true.
Like, I've been in relationships before where the person maybe didn't know what they were doing in their lives, felt very lost, and then seeing someone so driven, so motivated can make people feel worse about not knowing what they want, right? So so knowing exactly what your mission is, being so dedicated, so driven, so and it's something so meaningful to you, I think someone can only appreciate that respect, that if they have something too, so maybe it's also that. Maybe they wanted you to fill their void they had, and that's not your problem, You can't fill anyone's void. They have to know what they need to figure out in their life to make them feel motivated, they can't throw that on you, but maybe they were maybe you just need to find someone who has a deeper mission like you.
I'm a bit speechless. How does a woman find her mission?
I think everybody needs to do soul searching to find out what their why is, and spending time reading the right books, doing the right homework, and understanding yourself. And I also believe missions do evolve over time. Like, I am very different to what I was 10 years ago, and I'm sure I'll be different 10 years from now. And evolving is healthy. It's great. It's part of growth. But I think you need to find somebody who wants to know what their mission is. Most people are fine just being ordinary, watching TV in their spare time, hanging out in their spare time, gossiping in their spare time. You're clearly someone who wants to talk about ideas, not events, not people. You want to talk about ideas. You want somebody who's stimulated. You need to just find someone who's your match, because if you do find someone who's mission driven too, and it can be a different one, it doesn't have to be the same one, I think they won't need you to fill a void they have. Because everybody should be looking for their mission. Because everybody will vibrate higher if they're mission driven.
So I was the first time I taught Solve for Happy was second time. The first time I taught at Stanford University, and then I went to Hong Kong, a technical university, which is the largest technical university in Asia, and I taught there for one day, 9 hours, and at the end of the day, someone walked to me and said, "You did not choose this mission." I said, "What do you mean?" And she said, "This mission chose you." And she left. Okay.
Damn.
And honestly, so to me, that was a very, very, very serious redefinition of purpose for me. Because it seems to me that, each of us wakes up in the morning and starts searching and says, I need to find my purpose. I need to find why I'm here. I need to find the mission and so on.
Yeah.
And it seems that it works the opposite way. It seems like Ali used to teach me, that if you keep improving your little world, if you keep working on yourself, if you keep working on your relationship to others, if you keep, then you will, at one moment, you'll be ready. And when you're ready, your mission will choose you. It's very, very different.
Interesting.
I feel that. And I have to admit, my mission on AI now, for example, which is consuming a good 65% of my time, believe it or not.
What is your mission with AI?
I believe our world needs a wake-up call.
And what are you going to do?
I can't do anything, but I think if our world is united, we can. My entire message is very open, that we are raising a new form of being, and this new form of being, if it magnifies humanity as we are now, sucks.
Yeah.
So honestly, we have to improve.
I have to be honest. I haven't read
Scary
Scary Smart yet. I don't know much about AI. I'm not gonna lie. I'm kind of like a newbie there. It is scary, like hearing about how technology is changing the future. But I feel like, it's also our jobs to be a role model to the children, of the
Exactly.
future, to like live their lives. And you can't avoid technology, right? Like it's not going to go away.
Yeah, it's inevitable.
And also in our times, we were glued to the TV. We can't lie.
But the TV is not as intelligent, and the TV is
That's
not
true.
giving birth to other TVs.
That's true.
So we'll take a scheduled programming break here for Mona to read the book. No, but actually, if anyone hasn't,
You need to educate me, please. I need some help.
If anyone hasn't read Scary Smart, I had two
Yeah.
podcasts recently. So if you spend 2 hours of your time either on the Stephen Bartlett podcast, episode 252, or on Tom Bailey's podcast, The Impact Theory, which was the last episode that went super viral. Like so Stevens, I think, is now 6 million views or whatever. So
You guys make a great duo, by the way.
he's a fantastic human being. So intelligent, so smart. And every time, somewhere around an hour in, I find myself answering things that I told myself, and I'm very good with my brain. I told myself I'm not going to say those things, okay? And I told myself cliches that if Stephen asks me that question, I will answer with that cliche to avoid it. And I find myself blabbering away.
Oh my goodness.
He's so good
Okay,
at
now
it.
I need to go watch those podcasts.
No, but yeah, I think the one with Stephen is both are amazing. I also did one. There are quite a few coming, but I would encourage every one of our listeners here to actually listen to my view on AI, because it's a very important wake up call. Mona, so how did you become from moving here at age 17 to starting so many businesses, being so successful at them?
Oh, thank you. I'm not successcul at all of them.
You are.
Overall, it's all about the overall.
Exactly. That's a good advice. Huh?
Yeah.
So how one of the things that I have noticed actually about the region, especially Saudi Arabia now, that Saudi's evolving and women are having their place in society in a very impressive way, is that there is a different style to a woman entrepreneur. To fit in a society, in a business environment that is mostly masculine, by history, basically. So do you have any tips for a woman that wants to realize a business dream? Anything that you can remember along the path that made your life successful, your business life successful?
To be honest.
And hold on,
Sure.
before you go there, did you guys see how I managed to switch away so elegantly from my love life?
We're going to go back to that later. We're definitely going back there later.
After the podcast, we were going to have that over coffee.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
But, I think number one, I'm not successful at everything. I've failed so many times, and I'm sure I'll continue failing. I think the number one piece of advice I would give to anyone is just never give up on trying. It doesn't mean you shouldn't give up on some projects. Some projects are just not meant to be, and you have to know when to walk away and move on and start a new chapter. But just don't give up on trying if that's what you want. I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur since I was a kid. I grew up with very humble beginnings. My father, was a professor in the States. In the beginning, he had a green card, so he didn't even have a citizenship. So, he got a very low salary supporting a family of 4 or 5, children. So, it was tough. And my father always told me, and my sisters and my whole family, I can support you with your needs, your basics, but anything that you want, you have to get on your own. So I've had that mindset of I need to work for myself if I want anything in life. And I'm so happy that my father instilled that in me, to work hard, be dedicated, and also to be independent. Even though I did think I was going to get married at 18 and start a family young, I did. I really thought so.
Yeah.
I thought so. I told my mom when I turned 18, I was like, I want to get married now, find me somebody. And that didn't work out, but probably a blessing in disguise. But I've always wanted to work hard. And I think part of it's also going through that little period of depression that I had at 13, falling in love with Tony Robbins and his audiobooks, and then becoming obsessed with self-development. I think that just made me look into rags to riches stories, learn about how people made something out of nothing. And I've always looked up to entrepreneurs because like they're problem solvers and they're creating something out of nothing. And I find that a bit magical. So I've always been obsessed with entrepreneurship. Even when I went to university, like, I told my dad, when I decided to go to college, like I wanted to study fashion because I knew I always wanted something creative. I love like art, creativity. He was like, do finance. He's like, you need to have
Middle Eastern dads.
Yeah, he was like, no, you're not going to do fashion. You're going to do finance or something that like you can have to fall back on in case it doesn't work out. And my dad is very risk adverse. He's never had a business. He's always been a professor. He's always had to have something that had stability because he didn't have an option to like experiment growing up. So I did study finance, and I'm happy I did because it taught me a lot, which I'm sure if I didn't have that backbone, I probably would not be where I am today. But I always knew I wanted to work for myself. Like my first real job, like I got my first job at 14, but I was like working in restaurants, like the average American job in high school, restaurants, clothing stores, like ice cream stands, like any job I could get, I would take. But when I had my first career job, it was in investment banking. And I knew like by the first month, I was like, this is torture. I can't work in a company where you're one number of like tens of thousands of people. Like I just felt lost. I felt like I didn't make an impact. I felt like I wasn't driving anything. I was just like, I could do nothing and they wouldn't even know. Like it's just so boring. Like I'm a hungry person. I like to do. I like to make impact. And I think understanding yourself is important. I think my core values are spirituality, connection, and achievement. So I'm obsessed with achievement. Like I like to do things. Like even on my time off, I like to watch podcasts. I like to watch documentaries. I like to learn. I don't like doing nothing or just watching Netflix. Like it's just not who I am. And I think part of it was like the wiring of my parents. Like I think all of us are, part of our upbringing, right? Like my dad is a workaholic because he had to be. My mom is very religious. So between the two of them, they like really shamed us for having fun. Like if I was ever like, oh, I want to go to the movies with my friends, my dad would be like, Fashla, like you're going to be a failure in life. And I was like, really? I just want to go to the movies. And he was just like, yeah, like, so I think that's part of it too. Like that's part of why I'm so driven. I don't know how to switch off, but I also don't want to anymore. Like I like being productive.
Do you think switching off has merits as well?
Now I do switch off, but it's like to reflect, to look at myself. To
I feel like I'm looking in the mirror.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I feel that way a lot when you talk to. I'm like,
yeah.
Are you the same person? Like,
it's so interesting because I've been watching Netflix recently, but you can easily see my fingers going to the documentary section, right?
Same.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost, I mean, of course, there's always a place to watch like a car
fantasy
show or
something.
fantasy or whatever.
My therapist actually made me do that once. She was like, you need to start watching series just for fun. She's like, stop watching to learn. And I was like, no.
But learning is fun.
I know, I said that too.
Yeah,
but she's like, no, you just need to watch something just because, like without an intention to like get something out of it.
That's my stand-up comedies. So
I watch stand-up too.
Yeah, stand-up comedies are like a staple.
Same, I love them.
4 times a week, 5 times a week before I go to bed.
I love them too.
Yeah. But I don't like the rude ones, but I like, there are so many good ones actually now. When you're working so hard and you're succeeding sometimes, you're failing sometimes, do you see any finish line at all?
No.
Interesting, right?
Yeah.
Very interesting. So one of the things that is very common across many of the people that I know are very successful is they don't have that goalpost that keeps moving.
Yeah.
So I actually, people think that I'm working for 1 billion happy to try and get to 1 billion. Actually, I don't care really. If I get to another 50 million to 5 billion, I don't know. Okay, I think it's quite interesting that most of the people that I know that are very successful are working because 1, they love what they do, 2, they feel that they're making a difference, and 3 is because they want to be able to do the best that they can.
Yeah.
And the best that you can, interestingly, keeps improving the more you do the best that you can.
Absolutely. No, I agree with you 100%. And you have to have a mission bigger than yourself, right? Like your mission is super clear. Like you want to make people happy, which is such a beautiful mission. Like I commend you for that so much.
Best mission ever.
Best mission.
Ever.
The best.
Yeah.
You know, for me, I'm not going to lie, there was a period in my life where I felt like empty, and like, especially when there was a moment, you know, when we raised capital, we had a moment where we had like an opportunity to retire basically from like a financial perspective. And at that period, like all of us, the whole family kind of was like, we went through a phase of like, why are we working so hard? You know, like why? And then you had to search for meaning, which is hard. And then I was like, why am I working so hard? Why am I still going? Why don't I just retire and like go to different beaches, different times of the year and just relax, take it easy? Like if now I don't have to work hard, because my whole life I felt like I had to, and then it became a choice. And then I had to search for something bigger than myself. And then at some point it was like, oh, I want to work hard for my team. I want to give back to my team. I want to make sure they have a great life, and like to be able to pay well, to be able to like give insurance, the best healthcare, pay for their children's education, like things like that was meaningful to me. And that gave me a sense of purpose at some point. And then I wanted more too. And I was like, what am I searching for? And figuring out your why it's hard, but you need to do it. I realized I love making people feel good. Like I love it. It drives me. So I do feel like through fragrance, I am making people feel good, because it's a very emotional thing. And I do see a lot through like content, our community. People are like, your perfume makes me feel so sexy or happy or whatever. And that makes me feel happy. But I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I'm like, what am I going to do that's more meaningful in 5 years or 10 years? And I do have ideas, but I also feel like right now I'm where I need to be, you know?
You're amazing.
You're amazing.
It is so, it's again so paradoxical.
Why?
By the way, paradox being,
Yeah.
being paradoxical is the core of the feminine. So the main, when I'm looking, to understand the feminine, the number one and the number two, they may probably equal. One is flow, and the other is paradoxical thinking or paradoxical being. The idea of you being so driven, but also driven for good, okay? The idea of you not knowing, but still trying. These are very interesting ways of living. It's so inspiring. Do you believe that you're more Eastern or Western?
I don't really feel like I fit in anywhere except
Yeah.
Dubai. Because
Which
that's
is
where
both, isn't it?
I feel like that's where nobody fits in.
Yeah.
Like Dubai is the land
Or
of
everybody.
misfits.
Yeah.
Everybody fits in,
Yeah.
because like not fitting in makes you fit in. Like Dubai is the land of like,
You know what's my favorite thing about this city? Truly and honestly, you go to any cafe and there is a woman in a mini skirt sitting next to a woman in a abaya, sitting next to a woman in a sari, sitting next to a woman in
I love it.
in a business attire.
So amazing.
And they're all talking to each other, and nobody's judging anyone, and they're all good friends.
So
and I
inspiring.
absolutely love it.
Me too.
When Ali Habibi was alive, he went to school. We came back and forth and traveled and changed. I was changing career all the time. And he came back to school, and then a few days later he says, "Papa, I met someone at school. He seems to be a very good friend." And I was like, "Who?" And he said, "Max." And I said, "Typical out conditioning." I said, "And where is Max from?"
Yeah.
And Ali answered and said, "He's from my classroom." and I said, "No, I meant
so
which
cute.
country is he
Yeah.
from?" And his answer was so eye-opening. He said, "I don't know and I don't care. Should I care?" Okay. I was like,
So cute.
"No, baby, you shouldn't care. Actually, I'm wrong. You should not care at all."
Yeah.
I think this place is a bit like that. But the reason for my question is I was wondering if you believe you would have succeeded more if you had stayed in the US, because the US is such a much bigger market.
I don't think I'd be where I am today at all if
You
I
think
wasn't
so?
here in Dubai. No.
Why?
I find Dubai very inspiring. Like to me, I'm so inspired by Dubai. To me, Dubai is a startup. Like Dubai is like
that's
a
true.
company, and I feel like I benchmark a lot of my values on Dubai values. It's about continuously improving the city. It's about kindness. It's about happiness. They have a happiness minister. Like they're so cutting edge. They're so innovative. Their standards are so high. They're always pushing themselves to grow. So I think I was inspired by living here because it's like every year it was growth, you know. B, I think one thing Dubai teaches you is like nothing's impossible. Like, I think just having that limitless thinking is very inspired by Sheikh Mohammed, you know, before his time, Sheikh Rashid, you know, like, I think they're so powerful, they're so driven and still humble and down to earth, you know? So, like, I find them very inspiring. And also setting up a business here as a Muslim, as a person of, you know, color, even though I don't have much melanin for an Arab girl, but like, you know, it's a lot easier than being in the States, you know?
Is that true?
I think so. Even as a woman, I think you're actually more encouraged as a woman here in Dubai. Like, there's so much women empowerment here. It's not everywhere in the US. Like, I grew up in towns. I didn't grow up in a big city. I grew up in Dartmouth, Massachusetts, Cookeville, Tennessee. Like, I didn't grow up in LA or New York. So, like, I don't think it definitely wouldn't be here if it wasn't for moving to Dubai.
Big statement.
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure. 100%.
There was a statistic recently that actually the highest ratio of women entrepreneurs to women population in the world is in Saudi Arabia.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah, in a way of you may think about it and say it's because they had no way in 10 years ago, a woman had no way of actually working full time in a normal corporate environment, so they started their own thing.
Yeah.
But it is also quite eye-opening to see how.
Yeah.
I tend to believe, and I don't know, I don't want to be quoted on this, but I tend to believe that in the next 10 years, the places that will have the highest ratios of women in power will be the Middle East.
I have no doubts.
Yeah.
Especially like Dubai, the UAE. Like, I feel like Dubai is kind of leading the frontier, right? Like, they are the ones who are setting the standards for the Middle East, the GCC. You know, they're very like progressive. So I have no doubts for that.
How good is your Arabic?
مش زين.
Okay, that in Arabic said. Yeah, she's in Arabic. That meant not that good.
Not good.
and it wasn't said very well. She just
No,
agree it's
really
not zain.
bad.
Yeah.
That's Iraqi. مش
Yeah, but you too, you know, you
مش
were like
كويس.
you were like a little struggling with it. So yeah, fine. We'll
Yeah,
give,
my Arabic's really bad.
We'll give you that.
I'm
one.
working on it, kind of.
Are you really?
I mean, not really, but I should. I mean, I do here and there, but not enough. No.
Yeah, I think that's the spoiling part of it.
I know. I want to be on your. Can I say your Arab podcast?
Oh,
or are you keeping that a secret?
No.
Oh, sorry, I can cut that out.
No, we're not going to cut it out. So, yeah, for our listeners, I've actually been contemplating having a podcast in Arabic, which, so...
Maybe I'll come on and practice my Arabic so it could be the most disliked podcast. No one will understand a word.
It can be good, but it will be a massive nightmare.
People just make fun
editor.
of me the whole time.
No,
Yeah.
you'll say a sentence and then we'll correct you and then you'll say it again and we edit the first one. Yeah, I think that would work. Mona, you're truly wonderful in every possible way. I really don't know if our listeners will get the same radiant joy that one feels when I'm around you. But I wish you all success, because I know for a fact that when people who are good at heart, beautiful souls are successful, they'll make our world better. And you're one of those.
You're one of those.
And yeah, thank you so much.
I appreciate you so much. I don't want to leave. Can I stay?
Yeah, of course you can stay.
I'm like, is our chat over? No, it passed too fast.
Yes, we will stay, but for all of you listening, you can leave us now.
All right.
I just wanted to introduce you to one of the souls that I believe is wonderful, one that makes the world better. And I don't know if you have felt that the lightness of this conversation also does not make it void of a lot of wisdom. So I would actually encourage you to, especially if you're a woman, to look back at this conversation, listen again, because Mona embodies what I have been advocating for a very long time. So I tend to believe that, unfortunately, in our hyper-masculine world, we force women to act masculine in order to succeed.
That's very true.
And I think Mona, one of the reasons we're very close is that she's fully in her feminine, and that is the reason for her success. Of course, there is always a time when you need a bit of masculine skills, managing finances or running the business with assertiveness and so on. But that doesn't mean you lose your essence. And I think your essence of joy, your essence of playfulness, your essence of empathy for your users are,
Can I
believe
just
it or
say
not.
something before we close? Because that's such an important topic. And funny enough, I used to really block my feminine energy before 3 years ago, before I went into therapy. And it's funny because like you said, that's probably a reason behind my success. And before that, I was always hitting roadblocks, always running into the wrong decisions, making the wrong decisions. But it was when I found out my feminine energy was unblocked, and when I worked on unblocking it,
How did you
my
unblock
life
it?
changed. I did a lot of therapy. So part of it was watching, drama shows on Netflix. One of them was making a playlist of my favorite songs, singing, drawing, dancing, creating. Also just understanding why I blocked it before. I used to have a really big problem receiving. I used to have a problem expressing my emotions, expressing myself in general, but especially my emotions. I used to just have a complete blockage. So when I started working on that and changing myself, I feel like I had almost a disconnect with my gut before that. I had no connection. There was zero connection. So I never used to even have my intuition. My intuition was blocked before. But after I unblocked my chakras, my throat chakra and all these other chakras, and also unblocked my feminine energy blockage, I feel like my life changed and things went into flow. So it was magical. So everybody watching, you've got to do that. It's so important. Yeah.
I have to admit, this is definitely one of the most valuable sentences that have ever been said on this podcast.
Really?
And I mean that in a very, very serious way. So I am a huge believer that all of the problems we have in our world today is because of a similar imbalance of the masculine and the feminine that you experienced at an entirely global level. I think our whole world has blocked its feminine.
I agree.
And I think
completely.
And I think the biggest challenge for me is that those who are archetypically feminine, if you want, are blocking themselves. So as a matter of fact, I know more gay men that allow themselves to be more feminine than women, right?
Yeah.
And I think the reality is there is a way to go through that process. I went through it myself, and my entry point was flow. Okay, and you can do exercises to find flow, right?
You should tell me.
Yeah.
I did some of my own, but I'd love to know what you did.
So for me, flow, believe it or not, I don't know if I have ever shared this. The first time I believe that analytical thinking is masculine. Okay, guys, you're going to have to stay a little longer, so that's okay. So analytical thinking is on the masculine side. That doesn't mean that only men have it, because man and male and female is biological. That's right. Masculine and feminine is every one of us, right?
Exactly.
And
I think that's part of it too. Is I think one reason why everybody has energy is blocked is the education around it.
Absolutely, conditioning, 100%.
We don't know what that even means. I remember because one of our fragrances is called Sweet Diamond, and I was this is feminine energy in a bottle, and people were what does that mean? I thought you said your fragrances are gender fluid, and I was they are. Everybody has feminine energy.
Absolutely.
And this is an ode to feminine energy because it's strong and sweet, it's soft and hard at the same time. So it's but people don't even know what that means. And even though I'm a very soft-spoken person and etc., people thought you've always been feminine. I'm I look
You're
feminine, I speak feminine,
of course, yeah.
but I used to be operating in my masculine 100% before therapy, because I was always the problem solver. I was always the person who wanted to solve everybody's problems. I hated receiving. I only wanted to give. So I was much imbalance.
One thing to give is part of the feminine.
But receiving is also part of the feminine.
So you
I wanted to provide for everyone.
Providing is different. So
I wanted to provide.
protecting is
I
different.
wanted to protect. I wanted to problem solve. I wanted to be the hero all the
Yeah.
time, you know,
Yeah.
and I never allowed anyone to be that for me. So yeah, I had to work on that, and working on that changed my life.
Let's extend
Drastically.
this conversation a little bit, guys, because I think this is
Plot
a very
twist.
this is a very important one. So let's share practices, you and I, in terms of what exercises you did to unblock your feminine, what exercises I did to unblock
Yeah.
mine. I unblocked my flow. For the first time, it was very eye-opening, and I know it sounds really weird, but the first time I discovered my flow was during playing a video game. Okay. So I'm a very, very serious video gamer. Most of my listeners know
Ooh, what
that.
game
I
do
play
you like?
Halo.
Okay.
I play like a professional athlete.
Wow.
I'm an Olympic champion level.
What?
No. I
That's so cool.
literally am. So
Oh my God.
so out of every million players, 2 have the chance to beat me. They won't every time, but all of the others won't have a chance to ever beat me, right?
Wow.
And I'm very good at it because I play like a woman. I play in my feminine, honestly, right? So I was playing Halo 4 level 1. I remember that vividly because Halo as a game is a game that actually uses a lot of very, very realistic physics. So in Halo, if you shot an enemy, the gun will fall almost as if it falls in the real world. The
Wow.
exact gravity with the slopes, with everything. And so you can plan, and planning is in the masculine side of the brain. Temporal brain is in the masculine side. And so I was a very strategic player until Halo 4 level 1, where you open one door around 10 minutes into the game and you're in zero gravity. So the entire physics engine goes corrupt. So you shoot an enemy, and instead of the gun falling down, it flies in the air. You're in zero gravity, so you're jumping, and you can't hear sounds. You can't, right?
Wow.
And it's a very unusual experience where you suddenly have to dance.
Oh my God.
Right? You suddenly have to listen to the rhythm of the
Oh, I thought you meant really dance. I was like, wow, this is a cool game.
I did. And it's
really
so
cool.
interesting because for the first time as a gamer,
Yeah.
I actually had to tune into and flow with the reality of the game rather than think 2 steps ahead. Okay? And once I did that, I was literally a whole level of difficulty higher. I
Wow.
started to play Legendary and beat every game because I could tune into this. And then I started, so to unlock that was the discovery, to unlock flow for me. I started to have New Year's intentions that were all about a full year of flow. I had, for example, I told myself I will live every year a full month in a city or a village that I've never been to
So
before.
cool.
I would never book my hotel until I landed in the city that I'm going to. I would not.
God.
I had a long time, 3 years in a
Wow.
row, where I would not book my next destination. I was completely nomadic until one evening before I'm leaving. And it's, all of that was sort of dismantling my masculine planning,
Yeah.
right?
Oh my gosh.
And then more and more, as you start to realize that life has better plans for you than your masculine brain, you start to flow. You start to love it, right? And then I started to even have years of what I call flow and joy. So I would flow and at the same time enjoy the flow, because it wasn't just about responding to life with a yes, but also savoring it.
That's
right?
so incredible.
It's really incredible. And this was, I believe, the very first opening for my feminine side. And then it all rolled from there. Your turn.
That's amazing. I mean, I have to say, based on what you said, I think you've done more than I have, which I'm like, I need to do that because I overplan everything. I'm so bad at just letting things go and flowing in that state. For me, it was like just the basics of like feeling your feelings. Like I used to suppress my feelings so much. I would never allow myself to feel anything. So just starting with like processing my emotions, speaking about things that are not, I don't want to say not important, but like before I would never even just talk about my feelings. I would just talk about work, problem solving. Like I would never just talk to talk. So it's just like expressing yourself, because I do think expression is a big part of your feminine energy too. So it was like the basics. I haven't got to your level yet.
Oh, no.
Like I was just like unlocking the door of like the basic feminine energy that you should have. Like
Is expressing.
Asking someone to get me a drink at a party, like instead of being like, hey, can I get you something? Like I'd always want to do everything for everyone. Yeah, I would never, like if a guy wanted to do anything for me, I would say no. Like I was just never allowing anyone to like do things for me. I'd do things for everyone. So I think I'm a bit basic still, but
so can I ask you a question? When you're not at all, by the way. Feelings is the other gateway, right? So when you say you allowed yourself to feel your feelings, isn't that what they always tell us will make us less efficient at work?
I disagree, because especially if you're a decision maker, and we're all decision makers, right? Like every single person in a company, in a team, you're making decisions together. I think you can only make better decisions if you're feeling your feelings, because your feelings to me are your compass in life, and they help you find out when there's an issue. They tell you things. And for the longest time, I used to suppress my feelings. I think because I'm a highly sensitive person, super emotional, and as a child, like, you know, you're taught not to be too emotional. Like, you know, if you cry over small things, if you feel like someone's off, like I think I'm a HSP, like a highly sensitive person, and like a Hayoki empath. I don't know if you've read about that.
What's
it's like
that?
It's a type of empath where like you really feel other people's feelings to an extent. Like if someone's had a bad day, you know they've had a bad day. Like you're in other people's feelings almost. So of course, as a child, like I was always told not to feel that way, because, you know, people want to protect you. They think you feeling other people's feelings is a bad thing, or being too sensitive is a bad thing. Now I've realized it's actually a gift. And I think everybody has it in them. Some people maybe a little bit more than others, but everybody has the ability to be sensitive. But a lot of people have blocked that part of themselves. And when you block that part of yourselves, you end up making bad decisions because you're not listening to your intuition. You don't trust your gut. And honestly, when I was going through a period of reflection, which was funny enough, like right before COVID, end of 2019, early 2020, I started my therapy journey, and I started reflecting a lot because I went through so many bad mistakes, like career-wise, relationship-wise, personal, like just so many bad things happened. And I was like, damn, I really need to assess myself, because I'm working my ass off, but I'm running into one issue after another. Something's wrong here, you know? And then after doing a lot of reflecting, I realized the underlying like reason behind all my big problems was A, letting small things turn into big things. Why did I do that? A, I wasn't expressing myself. B, I wasn't listening to red flags. C, I wasn't feeling my feelings. I'd block them all out and lie to myself. So once I like assessed myself and did that self-discovery, and then started doing the work to like changing that pattern, like my whole life changed, you know?
It's, you know, when you talk about it, I think the miracle of feminine intelligence, which again is very badly discussed in the world, because people associate intelligence with analytical linear thinking, which is useful at work, right?
Yeah.
Again, as I unlocked my feminine, I became so much smarter. Honestly, so much smarter, simply because of what you're saying. Sensations, feelings, emotions, intuition are all on the feminine side.
Absolutely.
And they're
ideas,
all,
like creative ideas.
Creativity, playfulness, right? All of those are inputs that you use your analytical thinking to analyze, right? And if you block those, you're sort of telling yourself, okay, I'm going to analyze 2 parameters out of 7 and try to come up with the best answer. That's crap. By definition, you're going to come up with the best answer for the 2 parameters. But if you include 7 or 8 more, and, you know, of course, women or the highly feminine people will know that for you, it's not 8 more, it's around 800 more. You're sensing everything, you're feeling everything. And suddenly, if you include that into your approach to decision making, to thinking, to analysis, to whatever, you become so much smarter. The one that actually wrote this very well was, even though he didn't write it this way, it was Malcolm Gladwell, Blink. I don't know if you read that book. But Blink was basically saying in one sentence, enable your feminine intuition, enable this incredible machine.
Read it. I have that book. I haven't read it.
Oh, it's one of my favorites of all time. Yeah, wow. Malcolm Gladwell in general is probably one of my top 3 authors.
Wow.
Yeah, you know, he was basically saying, if you just let go of that analytical brain for a while and just use your intuition, your other brain, if you want, your gut feeling.
Yeah, Yeah, and both energies are important. Like I know some people who just live in the feminine, do whatever they feel like doing, never have a plan, like just completely too emotional to an extent where it's also off balance. So like I think the key is balance, like
Yeah.
have both, use both to their powers. They're both so
100%.
powerful.
Or situational.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So sometimes you need to be in your feminine, sometimes you need to be in your masculine.
Exactly.
You said your therapist also said to play more?
Play more, yeah.
Did she?
Yeah.
100% feminine, yeah.
Just play, have fun, go to get some paint and like paint on a canvas, like do things that like just bring you joy without any intention of like anything else. And it was hard. It was hard to do that.
Was it really?
Swear to God, it was so hard. It was hard. It was just not what I'm wired to do.
No, I don't want to do that.
It's not how I'm wired. My whole life I've been a workaholic forever. So it's not my nature. But I realize like doing this makes you better at everything else. Balance is so important, right? Like life is short. Like.
Yeah, I found that play is definitely another, which is flow. I mean, play and flow are the same, really. But play, in my view, is flow with joy. Right? It's to be able to just take whatever is given to you and turn it into joy, but also turn it into creativity and right. The other one that worked really well is rhythm. So I don't know if I can prove that with any science at all, but I found that I felt. I don't know if I can say I found that I think that the masculine temporal brain is much more along the arrow of time. So everything is linear. There is now, and then there is 2 minutes from now, and then there is 4 minutes from now. The feminine is very rhythmic. So everything around being feminine is cycles. Biological cycles, emotional cycles, and rhythm. 4 beats and then 4 beats and then 4 beats or whatever is actually quite energizing for the feminine. So music, dance, and rhythm I found would release or would empower a lot of the feminine. So
that's interesting because one of my therapists told me after a session, because it was a pretty intense session, she's like, now go turn on some music and dance. And I was like, why? And she's like, just do it. Just trust me. You need to like do this right now.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay.
Yeah, did you?
Yeah.
Are you a good dancer?
I mean, I like to think I am. I try.
Who can be the
I'm
judge?
Iraqi. Like, come on.
Okay, that says it. That says it all. Yeah, she's a very good dancer. Iraqis, Turks, Iranians, and Lebanese, I think.
That's all my ethnicities, by the way.
Are you all of them?
Yes, I am, yeah.
Oh my God, tell me how you keep yourself together.
I don't know. Like all the troubled countries with trauma. And my husband's Sudanese. I'm like...
nicest
all the
people
trauma, I know.
ever.
Yeah.
Like, I swear to God, I mean, I'm so sad for what's happening in Sudan.
It's so sad.
But they are the sweetest humans on the planet. That incredible smile all the time, the kindness. When I remember vividly, of course, when you grow in one country of the Middle East, you don't get mixed with the Middle East.
Yeah.
And when I first went to Abu Dhabi, when I moved to the UAE, and there is a big Sudanese community there. And then after Jummah prayers, you go to prayers, and then you can easily tell the Sudanese, not by the way they look, but because everyone hugs everyone.
Yeah.
And it's such a long hug with a huge smile.
It's true.
It's like, Hassan, and then they hug, and they wait, and they hug. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
I hope things get better. Should we close here or keep going?
I mean, I could talk to you forever.
I can talk to you forever.
Literally forever.
Yeah, it's been a joy.
You're such a beautiful soul.
You are too, my darling.
Really
You're
are.
wonderful in every possible way. So yeah, you guys can go now. I think that's we're done this time.
We could do chapter 2.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to probably come back and talk again another day. But for now, as I said, I think Mona really represents an example of how success can happen in love, in relationships, in being a daughter, in being successful at work, by being feminine. It really makes a huge difference. So maybe listen to the subtleties in the tones of the words and the answers, and see a role model that I believe is an example of how to succeed by being feminine. In any case, if you've enjoyed this as much as I did, I doubt very much, because I have to tell you, there is an aura around Mona when you're sitting next to her. If you've enjoyed this, please tell others about it. Please tell others to change their point of view, their judgment about a region that they may think is oppressive and unempowering, because in all truth, I have met incredibly impressive, incredible people over here. And yes, maybe share this with others, tell them what you enjoyed, maybe send them a link, maybe rate it 5 stars, whatever it is that you do that can help me spread my message further will be highly appreciated. It is because of you that every week I have the chance to meet someone I dearly love, or someone I have never met before, but then I end up loving them, to just record a wonderful conversation for you. So with absolutely no doubt, this podcast seems to be my favorite thing to do, and it's thanks to you. I love you all for listening, and I will see you next time.
I love you all too.